everyone, my name is Garrett and I am the founder of Ambition in Motion, and I'm so excited, I'm so grateful to have you here for our first workshop. I'm so glad that you're here, and I'm so glad that you've decided to invest in yourself to build a mentoring relationship with someone from your organization so then you can help amplify your own career prospects and opportunities to really help take your career to the next level. I'm really excited for you and what you're going to accomplish over these next 4 months. So during this video, I just wanted to give you an overview of what to expect for the program and how to prep for this upcoming workshop. Now, this workshop's title is called Transitioning into a Managerial Role. So maybe you're in your career and maybe you're about to start entering into a managerial role, or maybe you've been a manager for a while, or maybe you're not a manager quite yet, but you will be. This workshop will be extremely insightful for you. You are going to learn a ton about management and how to properly manage somebody and how to not properly manage somebody. If you have any questions throughout this workshop, please post them in the comments section. So our workshops are the first one's on transitioning into a managerial role. The second one is determining when is the right time to pursue additional education, or if it's the right time to pursue additional education. The third workshop is determining when is the right time to switch jobs. And then the final workshop is on how to handle conflict in the workplace. So they're really relevant topics, and I think that you're going to really enjoy these workshops and the guest speakers that we brought in for you to learn from during these workshops. We will send you a post-program assessment to get your feedback. So this workshop is going to be roughly an hour long, and we're going to cover a lot of topics on how to transition into a managerial role. And so for you, my focus is on how can you go about making the most out of this. Really, the best way to go about making the most out of these workshops is to interact with us. When I ask a question to you, the audience viewing this, answer it, because here's the thing. I would rather you post your questions in the comment section, because if you got this question, I guarantee you somebody else in the audience does as well. So if we were to answer questions on an individual private basis, we're not really answering everybody's questions. But if you post your questions in the comment section, we can share this with everybody so then they can get their answers just like you got your answer. This program doesn't guarantee you a promotion or a new job. Really, the key is this program's for professionals who want to take their career to the next level. Like, we don't hand things out on a silver platter. Now, by the way, do these types of opportunities happen for the professionals that use this program? Absolutely. But you got to be open to it. You got to be willing to put your time in to go ahead and make the most out of this experience. If you're thinking to yourself, I'm going to come in negatively or skeptically, you're going to get negative and skeptical results. I mean, it's the law of attraction. If you come in with a negative mindset, you're going to manifest a negative mindset. If you come in with a positive mindset, you're going to manifest a positive mindset. It's all about how you view this system, this workshop, this opportunity. So come in with the right idea, with the right mindset, and you can make the most out of this experience. I promise that. So I just want to set the expectation properly. This is a program that does not hand out things on a silver platter. If you work for them, you can absolutely take your career to the next level, but it's about applying them. It's about actively meeting with your mentor. It's about actively networking and actually doing what you can to make the most out of this experience. Ask questions, interact, take advantage of everything we've got for you, and you will get the opportunities you desire. I mean, that's what this program's here for. If you think like, oh, I'm going to do the bare bones minimum, I'm just going to kind of have just 3 phone calls, and we'll keep them at the minimum length of time, and I'm just going to attend the workshop, not take any notes, not really make any comments, not really talk to anybody about what I'm learning, you're gonna get those types of outcomes. That's pretty much it. So I really want to encourage you to make the most out of this program. Take advantage of it. Ask questions, participate, and interact. Treat this program as fuel. Treat this program as fuel to help you get to where you want to be. If you're already burning, going strong, going hard, this program can help you get into the next level and accelerate. If you're barely burning a fire, barely burning an ember, and you really want to rekindle that and get yourself up, take advantage of it, jump in. But if you think to yourself, you know what, I'm barely burning this ember, I'm not really trying to burn this ember, really there's nothing there, the fuel can only do so much for you. So the point I'm making is come in with an open mind and a willingness to work hard, and you can achieve what you want. I mean, have professionals use this program to gain a managerial role or negotiate a raise or build deep bonds with their colleagues or expand their networks? Absolutely. But did those outcomes come handed on a silver platter? No, they didn't. It's about how you can apply what you're learning in this workshop to make the most out of this experience. So I want to share with you a little bit about my background, because I think that helps give some context as to who I am, what we're teaching, what we've learned, and why this information is relevant. So for me, I personally needed mentors in my life. And this might sound crazy, but from age 15 to age 19, I was a drug dealer. At the end of my freshman year at Indiana University, I got arrested in an undercover operation by the Indiana University Police Department, and I got 5 felony distribution charges. I was expelled from school, and I had no idea really what I was going to do with my life. It hit my life like a brick wall. I mean, up to that point in time in life, I thought success was you go to school, you get good grades, you get a job, and then you just kind of find yourself, like as if it's puberty, it just comes and hits you. And nobody that I had ever known that I ever thought was successful ever was a drug dealer. So I either had to accepting a failure or redefine my definition of success. So I chose the latter. And it was a great decision for me. Kind of like back to the whole law of attraction thing. I opened my mind to what positively could happen from this situation as opposed to negatively. So I enrolled in a program in St. George, Utah after I got in trouble. And they exposed me to the power of mentorship, both on a personal level and a professional level. On a personal level, they were huge. I mean, they helped me come to grips with how I'd affected my family, my friends, my university, my country. I really didn't think that what I had done really would impact anybody or that anybody would care. And that was so wrong. And I really don't ever want to discount the power of personal mentors, because personal mentors can really help you make some serious just strides and have some serious growth in your life, because ultimately those personal mentors can help see you for you. And don't get me wrong, the professional mentors are amazing as well. And by the way, we can mix those two. They can both be personal and professional mentors. But I really want to stress the importance of being vulnerable in a mentoring relationship, just like I've been vulnerable with you right now sharing my story, because I know that when you're vulnerable, you're much more likely to be attractive in that relationship. You're much more likely to build trust. I mean, shoot, you can't even build trust without vulnerability. You have to have vulnerability. So when it comes to building a mentor relationship, I hope me sharing my story with you has helped inspire you to be vulnerable with your mentor and in your mentoring relationship. And just to kind of finish out my story in terms of how I actually got here from being a drug dealer who moved to St. George, Utah. About a month after living in Utah, I flew back to Chicago for the weekend to let my family know my life's getting on track. On that flight, I'm sitting next to a guy. I took a keen interest in who he is. I asked him questions. I took down notes, shared with him a little bit about me, but really I was focused on who he was and asking him questions and really learning about what he had to say, because people love to talk about themselves. I was learning that through a book I was reading called Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People. And by the time we landed, he said, "Oh, by the way, I'm the director of ground equipment for SkyWest Airlines." And he offered me an internship doing financial analysis on the spot. Didn't care about my background. He decided to take me under his wing and give me an opportunity, and that was so crucial. That was amazing. He didn't care that I might be going to prison sometime in the future. He didn't care really what my future looked like. He cared about me, and he wanted to give me a chance, and that was so crucial. It helped me really take some serious strides in my life and my career. About a year after living in Utah, I actually got very lucky. While I was in Utah, I started a nonprofit to help young men and women who had made poor choices with drugs and alcohol and help them get mentors too, just like I had gotten mentored by that guy at SkyWest Airlines. And the court system saw that. They ended up dropping my felonies to a misdemeanor conviction. Indiana University had decided to re-enroll me, and I started Ambition in Motion with the idea of how can I help people get connected with their careers. I mean, ultimately for me, my vision is a world where the vast majority of people, not a couple people, but the vast majority of people are excited to go to work. When they're there, their expectations meet reality, and when they come home, they feel fulfilled. I'm here to try to help you achieve that. That's all I do, is to help serve you, to get you to where you want to be in your career. Because the more satisfied you are with your career, the better of a society we live in, and the more happy society is, the better everybody's lives are. I don't know. That's just my way of trying to make an impact on the world. And, you know, if you're going through this right now as a professional and you're thinking to yourself, like, what is my impact on the world? You know, it could be anything. But I think if you're consciously aware of that and think to yourself, I want to make an impact on the world, that's a great starting point. So the point is, be vulnerable and think about your impact, especially as it pertains to your story. Now, I want to talk about 3 keys to success for this program. The 3 keys to success for this program are honing your strategy, your story, and your state. Now, I said those in reverse order of importance. Your state is number 1. Physically, what is your state? Like your physiological state. Are you like amped up? Are you ready? Are you good to go? Are you in such a good mood that you're going to take on the world? Or are you stressed out, hunched over your computer, got bad posture, not feeling great? I mean, your first impression is everything. And when you're going into your mentor meeting, or a meeting with anybody for that matter, and you're coming in with some bad body language, I can promise you, you are not going to have a good first impression, and that will kill that relationship. it is very difficult to overcome a bad first impression. So fortunately, there are some things that you can do to help you get yourself into a positive state. And they take like 30 seconds because your emotions drive your emotions. Now, you might have had the worst day in the world. And you might be thinking to yourself like, oh man, I got to meet my mentor right now. I don't know how I can do this. Here's something you can do to get yourself into a positive state. There's a lot of things you can do. You can do a power pose. You can fake smile for 30 seconds. You could fake laugh for 30 seconds. But what I like to do is I like to shake it out, and I like to dance it out, and I like to scream at the top of my lungs. So what I want you to do right now while you're watching this video, and I know it might sound crazy, you might be in your house, you might be in your office, you might be at work, I don't really care. Stand up, shake it out, shimmy it loose. Stand up. I want you to scream at the top of your lungs. Just go, yeah, just let it loose, let it out, let it go. And the reason why I'm telling you to do this is because you are releasing endorphins to your brain, getting blood flowing to your brain. What this does is it gets you into a positive mood. It takes you from wherever you're at and puts you at a 10. It gets you ready to go. And your physical body, your physiology, your body is saying, thank you. I'm ready for this. I'm ready to take on the world. Your state is crucial. So when it comes to a mentor meeting, get your state right. You're going to give a positive first impression if you get your state right. If you're screaming at work, good for you. Amazing. I'm proud of you. That's awesome. You know, people might think of you and look at you like a weirdo, but that's okay because this is not a coolness contest. This is about you making strides in your career and getting a positive first impression with your mentor and with anybody that you want to meet. Now, the second key is your story. Now, what's a story that you tell yourself? Do you tell yourself a story for why you won't be successful or for why you will be successful? I mean, your story could be, oh, well, you know, I'm an introvert, so I couldn't possibly be good at networking or putting myself out there or trying to get a raise or try to be a manager because, you know, I'm just an introvert. Or maybe you think to yourself, like, I'm an extrovert. I'm crazy around people. I can't even handle it. I'm a word vomiter. I just can't even contain myself around other people. I couldn't possibly be good at networking or in a managerial position. If you tell yourself a story for why you will not be successful, you will not be successful. But if you tell yourself a story for why you can be successful, you can manifest that outcome. If you tell yourself a story, if you literally play in your mind how a situation could go the most positive way it could possibly go, you will get yourself to where you want to be. So I want to ask you right now, and I would love if you could post in the comment section, what is a story that you tell yourself for why you will be successful? Where do you want to go? What do you want to achieve? How are you going to do that? Lay out your story of where you're going. It could be the next 3 months. It could be the next year. I don't really care. But put it out there for how you're going to be successful. Share it with the world. Share it with your community here because what that does is it empowers other people to be vulnerable and share their story as well. I'd love if you could share your story of where you want to go in the comment section. Now, the last key is your strategy. So what is the strategy that you're going to do to help you get to where you want to be? Now, this workshop is all about how to transition into a managerial role. So the strategy is going to be all about how can you go about becoming a better manager. Now, take the skills that we're teaching in this workshop with our guest speaker. Take these skills and apply them. One of the things that I love to do when it comes to strategy is to set up a routine. So what is something that you can do on a regular basis to help you reinforce this skill that you're learning in this workshop? Because if you're just here in this workshop and you're just watching this video and maybe you're taking notes, like that might stick. But if you actually teach it to somebody else, that is definitely going to stick. Exponentially, you are much more likely to remember the information that you're taught if you teach it to somebody else. So what I want you to do when it comes to strategies, I want you to take what you're learning during this workshop and I want you to apply it and teach it to somebody else. This could be a friend, it could be a stranger. I don't really care. But teach something that you learned that you thought was impactful and powerful to you. I love if you could do that because if you can, you're going to reinforce this information and this program, this workshop, this whole experience is going to be so much more powerful to you because you are reinforcing what you are learning. So the way that you can practice, find an accountability partner, teach them the skills that you are learning, something that you learned. And it could be anything, like whatever nugget of wisdom that you heard from me or from our guest, teach it to somebody else. That will help you reinforce it. Thank you all for being here. I'm really excited for you to embark on your mentor relationship. And in this mentor program, I'm really excited to get started with our guest speaker. Hey everybody, welcome to our workshop this evening. I'm so excited to dive into our topic today. Our topic today is how to effectively transition into a managerial position. So whether you're a college student, maybe you're a recent graduate, maybe you're a professional, rearranging or figuring out what you're trying to achieve from a professional standpoint. And maybe you've been at a role or in a position where you've been an individual contributor for a while and you're like, I'm ready for the next level. I want to take myself to the next level. But for whatever reason, your company hasn't presented those opportunities to you. You're trying to figure out, like, how do I advocate for myself? But how do I not go overboard? How do I not let my, boss know that I am, like, how do I not seem overzealous, but at the same time, eagerly engaged for an opportunity to get to a managerial position? Fortunately, we've got a great leader with us here today. We got Sam Esho to share his perspective as to how he got into his career, how he was able to work up into a leadership position, and just really the things that he found to be really effective. Sam, thanks for being here.
Thank you, Garrett.
So, Sam, let me kick off with the first question. I guess, tell us a little bit about your role. Tell us a little bit about you. How did you get to the role that you're at today? And how did you advocate for yourself as you worked into a managerial position?
So my name is Samuel Esho. As you know, I currently am an executive director of Wells Fargo. I work as a senior lead technology business consultant. I have been in technology for over 20 years. This started way back in college. I've always had interest in IT, networking, and servers. And one thing I'll say, long story short, is hard work, consistent learning, adaptability, just be adaptable, be open to new ideas, learn, keep learning. I believe in micro learning, so I've always used micro learning. I learn everywhere, at work, in the bathroom, anywhere I can find an opportunity to learn. So I think hard work has paid off. Willingness to learn, willingness to try new things, and not being afraid to fail has really helped me, because I believe that when you fail, you learn from it. So failure is always a learning process too. So that has worked for me. It has helped out.
I love that. So let's talk about your leadership journey. When you first started, when did you get your very first leadership position? How did that come about? Did your boss approach you about it? Did you approach the team about it? Did you apply for the position? Like, what was your very first leadership position like? How did you get that role and opportunity?
So I'll say I started my career as a project manager. I was working for an IT firm. And as a project manager, I started as a mid-level manager. I had people reporting to me, and I had people I had to report to. So it was much more of, I've always had this wanting to serve. I want to help out the best way I can. And I think one of my biggest strengths is connectivity. I know how to connect the dots, connect the people that needs to.
But did you start there? Were you always in a leadership role, or like, I would assume you started as an individual contributor?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. How did you work into that project management role? Like, where were you at the beginning? How did you get that first break? Does that make sense?
Yes, that does. I would say that I started as an individual contributor. I was working on the team as one of the developers back then, and I was good at problem solving. I think one thing I could do was communicate. I knew how to communicate ideas. I knew how to communicate problems, to leadership, to my peers, and all of that. So I think my manager noticed the fact that I was the one that was always coming with the problem and actually providing solutions to. So I was not just always coming with problems. I was always coming with a problem that I have actually thought about solutions to. So I go to my manager and say, hey, this is what's going on the team, or can we try this method, and it works out at the end of the day. So I think that really helped out too, willing to always provide solution to problems, willing to be there, be that person that your team can rely on, to ask questions and speak for the team. That really helped me too.
That's awesome. No, I love that proactive nature of coming with solutions. I think that's something that is maybe a tough, not necessarily a pill to swallow for college students, but like a big transition. Like in college, you're given very clear parameters. You get this homework assignment done. You know when your quizzes are. You're going to have final exams on this date. Like everything is very clear cut as to like what you're working towards and what you need to achieve. But in the working world, there's a lot of ambiguity. It's not very clear cut. It's not repetitive. Well, not always repetitive. Sometimes repetitive, but like it's not always like a very crystal clear path laid out for you. And here's how you go about solving it. Oftentimes there's ambiguity. And it is tempting to go to your boss to say, I don't know the answer to this issue. This is something that's like been a roadblock and I haven't been able to do my job. But it sounds like what you're describing is that if you are someone that can come into the working environment and to go to your boss and say, hey, I noticed we had this problem. Here are 3 potential solutions that I observed that could be a great way to solve this problem. Do you think one of them could be a good way to go? And now all of a sudden your boss is like, great, I've got options. Here's someone who's solution oriented. And I would imagine that perhaps because you did that so regularly, your boss was like, Sam is already ready to go in terms of finding solutions. He'd be a good candidate for being a leader. Is that kind of how that went down?
True. That's really how it worked out. You know, the reliability, the fact that the bosses can actually rely on you actually to be their backup. Because I used to be my boss's backup. That's how it started. You know, I started being the backup and I started to learn the day-to-day life of my boss, what he does. And I found myself doing the same thing afterwards. You know, I got into the management space, started to do more, attend more meetings, you know, understand how to merge the organizational goals with individual goals so we can create business values.
Well, and on that point, there's also something really interesting there. And it goes back to the previous point before about like being proactive about coming up with solutions. There's also a notion of being proactive about the work itself. Sounds like what you're describing probably meant that you put in a lot of extra time, energy, and effort at work. Like I would imagine that well, let's put it like this. If a college student is going into the working world and is told like, cool, you work a 9 to 5 shift, you might think to yourself, oh, my job is only 9 to 5. I arrive at 9, I go home at 5, and that's it. And then naturally I'll get a promotion and naturally I'll work up the ladder. And it's like,
it doesn't work that way.
Those people do exist in the workplace. Those people do not often get promotions. It just doesn't work that way. It's just like, those are the people that are kind of skating by. Sometimes when an economic downturn hits, they're like typically the first people to get laid off. Like it just, by the way, just knowing the economic environment of what's going on now, that's something that happens a lot. Those people who are willing to put in the extra time, the extra hours, the ones that are saying, hey, I want to volunteer to be at this meeting. I want to volunteer. I want to be seen in the organization as someone who wants to be actively involved. Those are the people who get promoted and become indispensable to the organization. It sounds like that's what you were doing.
Yes, that's what I was doing. And I always say this, be an early bird, you know, because I used to go to work at 6:30 a.m. and my manager was already in the office. So and normally we don't start till 8, 9, you know, the meetings really kick off at 9. But that really challenged me. Like he has grown up kids and he's still here before me, you know, and it just shows how committed he was to his role. And I would say this, I always used to say, find a model that you want to be like and ask them what they do. Because greatness comes from modeling after great people. And modeling after great people means discipline, because I've not met a lazy great person before. You know, I always tell my peers every time we meet, I'm always like, you know, it's always continuous improvement, meaning that we continuously learn. And continuously learning means that we continuously advance ourselves. So I always tell people you continuously learn. That helps you to get to where you want to get to. You don't think that you know it all. Be open to change. Be open to being adaptable. You know, be coachable. Find your role model, somebody you can always talk to, someone you can always ask questions.
I love it. You know, let me ask the students a question real quick. Students, post in the comment section, what can you do to set yourself apart in the work environment? What extra mile thing do you think you can do
to set yourself apart from your peers and really distinguish yourself to your manager, so then you can put yourself into a leadership position. Post that in the comment section. I'd love to learn more. So Sam, I would be curious to know, what are some of the biggest mistakes a newly promoted manager make when leading people?
I would say one of the biggest mistakes you can make is thinking you know it all. You know, thinking that you know it all. It's something that has affected me. I led an effort which I assumed that when people were silent, it meant they were in agreement with what I was saying. And months into it, expectations were not met. And when I was talking to my leadership, I was like, but everybody agreed to this. I thought I knew that silent meant agreement, but I had to rebuild the trust I had with the team. I had to go back to the team and say, hey, guys, that was when I figured out that with that team, silent did not mean agreement. You had to go and investigate more. You need to convince people and talk more, discuss more with them. So one of the biggest mistake I made was assuming I knew it all. I thought I could, model the same pattern I did with my previous team with the new team. So most times a new manager can just assume that the team understands them, or what you're doing, but take your time and ask questions, do a little bit more research.
I think that's a great point, because a lot of organizations, and I think there's a flaw with a lot of promotional strategies, is people get promoted because they were good individual contributors. Like, oh, you're great at this individual task, let's make you a manager of that task. And what makes a good manager is not necessarily their ability to be good individual contributors. It's a farce assumption to assume, oh, someone who is good at this one project or this one thing will be good at managing people who do that thing, because they'll try to replicate that. But what oftentimes happens is they micromanage because they don't trust their people, and they think they know it all because they're like, hey, I got this promotion because of my ability to do this. If you do like me, we're going to be great. And but there's multiple ways to get a job done.
A lot with the invent of AI, there's a lot of ways to get a lot of things done now, and easier, faster.
So I'd be curious to know, what would you say is the biggest mistake you've ever made as a leader? What'd you learn from it?
I would say the biggest mistake I ever made as a leader was not being open to having difficult conversations.
Elaborate, tell me more.
So I was avoiding micromanaging because I did not want to overmanage. And I particularly avoided even though when I noticed that a team member or a direct report's performance was dwindling and I needed to ask questions, some very stringent questions, I avoided those questions and tend to the part at which I just felt like, hey, you know what? I feel you can do better. I did not create development plans or mitigations in where we can mitigate those risks. I just let things slide, and at the end of the day, I had to pay for it.
And just so that I can be clear, was it just more product of, because you didn't want to have the hard conversation, you let poor performance slide, and ultimately that impacted your team's performance?
Yes.
Yeah, that's interesting. And so what you ended up learning was, if I, as a leader, directly combat poor behavior or just poor performance head on, and just clear as kind, give very clear feedback, not ambiguous. I'm not criticizing you as an individual person. I'm criticizing this outcome or this project or this piece of work that you did. Now it can be better. That ultimately is a much better resolution for achieving behavioral change and getting people to perform better.
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah.
I think it's important to have those hard conversations, but make sure you create a safe environment while doing so too.
How can eager young professionals, or just eager professionals in general, communicate to their boss that they want to get to the next level? They want to get promoted, that they want to take on more work. Like, what if you're in an organization where you don't get much feedback and they're kind of like, cool, good job, you did it. And like, they're not giving you a lot of guidance. How do you go about advocating for yourself?
I would say volunteer for cross-functional events. Be out
What if
there.
I'm not at a big organization? Like, yeah, you're at Wells Fargo, which has a lot of cross-functional events and that sort of stuff. But what if I'm at a small business where there just like aren't that many cross-functional events that go on? It might require a little more proactivity for me to like learn about what marketing is doing.
Offer to help small initiatives, just help out, learn the language of leadership, how the culture is over there, and be a part of it.
I love that. I think that's such a great advice, because yes, in large organizations, there do tend to be cross-functional and cross-organizational meetups and networking and that sort of stuff. That's great. Medium to small businesses don't typically have that. So therefore, when you do interact and encounter other people that are across other different parts of the organization, volunteer to help out. Now, I do want to caveat my own little 2 cents on that suggestion is make sure that you're getting your own work done adequately before you start volunteering to help out. Because if you're not doing a great job with your own work, and then you're volunteering to help out other people at the organization, and then all of a sudden that boss goes to your boss and is like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad that Johnny volunteered to help me out with this. That's so cool. They're like, really? Johnny volunteered to help you out? Johnny's not even getting his own work done. Yeah, so it's like that. Make sure you're getting all of your work done adequately before you start volunteering for other people.
And I would also say you should find a mentor, shadow your boss during meetings so you can understand the day-to-day. What's a day like in whoever you want to be like's life. Your boss's life, your mentor's life, what's their day-to-day like? That gives you a perspective into how things are run in their world.
In your mind, what's the difference between a sponsor and a mentor?
So I'd say a mentor is someone that guides you on a day-to-day, on a step-by-step guide. I would use the word, a mentor is a step-by-step guide. Gives you helps you with directions, on how to get to your goal. A sponsor this is my perspective.
Yeah.
A sponsor is somebody that helps you to get to a mentor.
Tell me more.
A sponsor enables your goals in the sense that I'll use the word that come from funding. A sponsor funds a project, right? A mentor helps you achieve the goals the sponsor is funded.
I like it. I think, maybe put another way, it sounds like what you're describing is a mentor is someone who can be more intimate with you on the things that you're working towards professionally. A sponsor is someone who's like very high up in the organization,
yes,
who just does not have the time to be with you intimately for every step of the way, but like wants to support you, wants to see you succeed, and said, you know what, I'm going to allocate a budget for your development. Go out and make it happen. But like, I don't have the time to do that. But there's other people who are maybe willing to be more intimate with you and can like meet with you regularly and can guide you. So that's why you define it.
100%, because we say the sponsor is the person that helps you achieve your goals, but the coach is the closer person to you. The coach guides you, works with you, what you develop, but the sponsor ensures that happens too, because that person is who sponsored the whole, because for us, it's all projects and products and all of that. So,
you always mention that you're always interested in leading. what resources do you subscribe to help you continue your amplification as a leader?
I would say I always mention learning. I read a lot. I have books and books and books everywhere on my phone.
What are some of your favorite leadership books?
I would say Think Rich, Grow Rich, The Alchemist, 48 Laws of Power. I read a lot of books. I'll give another book that really helped me. Atomic Habits helped out. I have a few lists. Just give me a second.
No, you don't have to get the full list. Those are great books. I love those books. I think those are fantastic books. I'm a fan. And you're also part of our executive mastermind group too. So you get to actively provide guidance and learn from other leaders as well. And you get coaching too. So those are other things that I know you subscribe to. Obviously, books are great as well.
Another book I would like to recommend is The Leader Shift.
Okay.
It shifts your mind from you to others.
I love it. Yeah, no, that's a great point. I feel like I've interviewed and met with some people that wanted to get into leadership for the wrong reasons. They'd be like, "Oh, I am so excited to lead teams because of the raise that I get at this organization, or the fact that I can buy a new car, or that I can get a better house, or whatever." And it's like, those are the wrong reasons to be leading people. That would be like wanting to become a doctor so then you can live in a nice house. It's like, no, you want to become a doctor because you want to save people's lives. Like,
right.
Like if the number one motivator for you as my doctor, especially if you're about to give me a surgery, is the amount of money you're making on said surgery, I'm not going to feel particularly comfortable with your ability to do a good job on me.
I've had people say that I want to go into IT to make money. And I'm like, okay, what problem are you solving? So I agree. You have to have the right mindset in order to advance your career. So you can, because it comes with a lot of challenges sometimes, and you have to be willing to pay the price. So it's all about the mindset.
And it's about the people. Like, ultimately, people do better work in your charge, because ultimately the reason why you're promoted to a leadership position isn't your ability to do everyone's work for them. It's your ability to put them in a position to thrive and succeed. So then they're doing amazing work in your stead. And that's the exact, 5 people doing amazing work is much better than you doing amazing work. So
True.
You can get a whole lot more done together. Let me ask the students a question real quick. Post in the comment section, what is your favorite leadership book that you've ever read? Post in the comments. Or if you've not read any leadership books, what is a leadership book that you would like to read sometime over the next month or two? Post in the comment section. I love to learn what you've either read that you really enjoy, or what would you like to read just to continue your growth and development. So Sam, what is the best way to set expectations with your direct reports? So I think, when I ask this question, I want to caveat this with, I recognize that the growth of the organization can sometimes create opportunities or not for people to grow. Like, I've seen some businesses where it's like they're on a steady growth path, but it's not like gangbusters growth where they're going to be hiring, 50 people month over month, and therefore teams just grow and get bigger and people constantly get promotions. I recognize that there are some organizations where people stay for a very long time. There aren't many opportunities for promotions. And for a lot of people, that can be a turnoff. How do you set expectations with direct reports? And within that, is there any ways that you suggest maybe creating new growth opportunities for direct reports when there are not promotional opportunities?
So I would say one-on-ones, first, I believe that I always say create a psychologically safe environment for your direct reports, because as a manager, you're not just managing them, you're also managing yourself. So at the end of the day, you should be able to create an environment where your direct reports can come and talk about themselves, talk about the team, talk about impediments, and you guys can foster an environment where solutions are being provided. So for me, I believe that we should always create an environment where my direct reports can come and tell me anything that they need to talk about freely without feeling, oh, I can't say this because Sam will feel this way. I always say emotional intelligence is very important when you're working with people, and when it's a better avenue to have those set expectations and understand strength. Because I always have this conversation with my team on understanding what next. Hey, what's your next line of action? What do you want to do next? What's your plan? What's your future plan? Where do you see yourself in the next few years? And you find out that some of the guys that work with on the platform side want to move to the development side. People want to do different things. And with the invent of AI, you see a lot of people trying to, vent into AI and all of that. So it's easy to identify those potential areas of growth when you have those one-on-one sessions with your direct reports, when you foster an environment for trust. I always say leadership is not for you, it's for the people, So you have to have that mindset that I'm here for you right now. This next 1 hour is for you. So, and I want to see how best I can help you achieve your goals. I want to see how best I can, we can work together in doing that. When you foster and build that trust, it works magic.
That's huge. I love that you do that. I think that's a thing that happens early on in someone's employment, where a new boss, direct report relationship, the boss will say like, oh, where do you see yourself in the next year or two? But oftentimes they forget to ask that question over time, and people's goals and aspirations change. And I think it's a really important question to keep asking. So I love that you do that. I think that's really, really smart. And then on the topic of psychological safety, I think, one of the biggest ways to build psychological safety is to do what you say and say what you do. Like, if you tell someone you're going to meet at a certain time, try your darndest to be on time. I think that's something that, by the way, I'm guilty of with my team, but gosh, I really don't want to be, is being on time for the meetings you set with your team. Because like, if you show up late to meetings with your direct reports, you're subtly communicating that you don't respect their time, or that your time is more important than theirs. And like I said, I want to be very clear. I am sometimes guilty of this as well. And I recognize my own hypocrisy in this, but I can acknowledge that if we can be very conscientious on time, we can be much more likely to, build that psychological safety with our team and show our team that we care about their time just as much as we care about our own. And by the way, and as students, especially for individual contributors, we must be on time for those meetings. Like showing up late to a meeting with a boss or a skip level boss, or anybody for that matter, when we're lowest person on the totem pole, is a surefire way to not get any opportunities.
True. And I always say this, that your best result is the trust you build, So if the best resource you have as a leader is the trust you build amongst your team, your downline, upline, whoever you're working with. So building trust meaning showing up. It means show up. When you say do what you say you're going to do, you build trust.
I love it. No, you're right. It's your reputation, and it shows that you got integrity. So students, let me ask you a question. Post in the comment section. What can you do to build trust in your next work environment or in your current work environment? Post in the comment section. Just, what can you do, or what do you want to change about the way that you currently operate to build better trust with your team and your boss and your colleagues? Post in the comment section. I'd love to learn more. So Sam, this has been an awesome workshop. This has been an awesome just interview. How can our students stay in touch with you? Are you okay with them connecting with you on LinkedIn? How can our students stay involved with you as
yes, please
continue to progress?
Yes, you can always reach me on LinkedIn. We're going to be posting the LinkedIn ad here, and but you can always reach my personal email address, which is Sammy SAMMYESHO@gmail.com. Feel free to post your questions, and I also mentor, so we can talk.
Amazing. Sam, This has been great. I really appreciate you taking the time to be on this workshop. Students, thank you all for being here. Have a wonderful rest of your day. See you at the next workshop.